Stitch Cuties, I'm Brittany with Stitches of Love Quilting, and today we are going to use our embroidery machine to make our adorable Santa Claus block for our Christmas Lane block of the month quilt. So of course you have your pattern with all of your instructions, you have your fabric that you'll want to go on and starch and press, and then you can see off to the left I have all my pre-fused laser cut applique pieces from my kit. I have them laid out in order. So how I lay them out in order is I just look at the order of appearance of the piece in the pattern and I put it in that numerical order. So as I go through the process, I don't have to think about what piece to grab next. So in my hoop, what I've done, let me put my pattern off to this side. You have your 8x12 hoop loaded with your stabilizer and you have a white thread on your machine. So the first step is a line across the top and bottom of your hoop, which will be a placement line for where we're going to put our fabric. And so you simply take your fabric and you're gonna center it in the hoop and then just make sure that it extends past the top and bottom. You can see we give way more fabric than you need, so you can trim it down after the block is completely stitched in the hoop. We're gonna put a little bit of tape to hold it in place. And again, we're gonna continue with this white thread. What will happen now is that same line at the top and bottom will stitch again to anchor our fabric, and eventually that will be a trim guideline for us. And also our first round of applique outlines will stitch in the center. Okay, so you have your first round of applique outlines. You'll notice that there are several areas of over and under lap on your pieces, so we wanna make sure that we put them down in numerical order. So we're gonna start with piece number 1. As always, when you have the white pieces on this quilt, there are 2 of them so that you can double line them. I am gonna go on and remove my tape that I use to hold my fabric in place because when I'm ironing, I don't want to iron on that and get sticky. Now you'll see that I turn my hoop sideways so that it fits in the camera better and it fits on my Steady Betty better. So you are going to be looking at this sideways. You can do yours however you like in your workspace, of course. So you're just going to line this up. It'll be a perfect fit. And start at one side and just work our way over to give this a press. And then we will immediately put the second one right on top to double line it. Awesome. So easy, right? I love, I love building these applique units in the embroidery machine like this. So fun. Now we're gonna put piece number 2. Now it is a perfect little rectangle. It's gonna go from the top and the sidelines you'll use to guide it, and then the bottom is gonna line up perfectly at the bottom of your snow. So you'll know you have it in place. Now we're gonna put our big tree. This is a super cute clover cross stitch fabric. So cute. And get it lined up. There we go. And you'll see this edge right here. It's gonna go past the stitch line by a 1/4 inch, right? Because it's gonna go into the seam allowance. So you are gonna use the top of your tree, the left and right angled sides, and the bottom to line your tree up. But then this straight edge right here is going to extend past your stitched line on this edge by an entire 1/4 inch. Again, because that's going into your seam allowance on the sides. And part of why we did that is we want to be able to accommodate as many people with this 8x12 hoop. So that's why you have some stitching extending into your 1/4 inch seam allowances. Now we're gonna take our cute little legs. We're gonna make sure basically the wider leg is number 10. We're gonna put that on first, just like so. It doesn't overlap onto the snow, just to let you know. And now we'll put our next little leg in place, and you'll use the 3 lines to guide it so you know you have it in place. Now we are jumping up to number, I believe it's 19, yes. And again, this is a peach color for his face. And you have 2 pieces, again, of this lighter color. And we're just gonna get that in place. Give it a press, so easy peasy. Love doing this. And then I really enjoy just sitting in my chair, watching my machine stitch this for me. I find that to be very fun, very relaxing. And then our star is in place and give this a press. Now we're gonna leave the white thread on again for several more steps. And our machine will give us our next round of applique outlines. So that is now moving on to step 10 already in the pattern. Okay, so now we have our next round of applique outlines stitched. I'll put my hoop on my Steady Betty. Again, I've laid my pieces out in numerical order, which helps me not have to worry about making a mistake, and that's especially helpful when you have a lot of little pieces like this that all are similar, even though they're different colors. So we're just gonna start with piece number 4. The ornaments on the tree are 4 through 9, so we'll go through and put all of these in place. And again, you can always reference your applique placement guide that's numbered to help guide you. And then of course the picture that's on the front of the pattern I think is helpful as well to reference. And then this is just gonna be a perfect line right on the corner of your tree. Now another big turquoise ornament. There we go. And then a yellow. There we go. And now the last ornament on the tree is the red one. I love these. I love like a classic tree looking like this, really fun colors. Now right here we have 2 layers that are gonna be on top of each other. So you're gonna make sure you put your yellow piece down. This is technically, I guess these would be his socks because they're inside the boot. So Santa's wearing some yellow socks. And now we're gonna put our boots in place. So you wanna make sure that the bottom of the boot lines up perfectly with the bottom of your snow, and then pay attention to these little pointy parts up here, and then you'll know you have it perfectly in place. So I'm just gonna hold that and work my way over on it. There we go. And now our last piece of this step is Santa's coat. So just make sure you get it lined up. I like to start at one side and work my way over for lining it up. Perfect. And just give it a little press and work my way back. There we go. So we're gonna keep that white thread on again for the next step. And the machine is going to give us our next round of applique outlines. So now we're moving on to step 12. Alrighty, so now we have our next round of applique outlines. Again, we're gonna go in numerical order because there's areas that over and underlap. So we're gonna start first with piece number 15. So we're gonna get Santa's left hand in place. Then we'll do his left arm. And you wanna make sure it lines up nicely right here. It's gonna be a nice straight line. There we go. And now his right hand, which is piece 17. Just get that ironed in. And now his right arm. So cute, isn't it? This little Santa. There we go. And now we're gonna do the top of his hat. So I'm just gonna start over here and work my way over. And then you can see it falls perfectly into place. And then you can see right down here, that little tip. You wanna make sure that's lined up nicely. So I'm gonna start there with the iron. There we go. So again, we're gonna move on to the next step, which is step 14 will be next. And we're gonna keep the white thread to stitch the final round of our applique outlines. Okay, so we have 2 final pieces to put in place. First up will be Santa's infamous white beard. So again, with the white piece, you're gonna have 2 of them. And we are going to get this lined up everywhere. And then we will begin pressing after you get it lined up just right. There we go. Perfect little Santa. And now you'll put your second layer of Santa's beard right on top. There we go. And then our final piece we're going to iron on is the little pom-pom hanging on Santa's hat. So you have a bit of the circle. It's a perfect circle, so don't worry, just get it lined up there and it'll be in the correct spot. And now our second piece. And so now we're gonna leave the white thread on for one more step. And that is because the machine is going to stitch Santa's beard and the Pom Pom. And also his socks, I believe, get stitched in white. Yes, so it's gonna stitch 10, 11, 21, and 22. So continue with that white thread for the next step. All right, take a look at the white that's stitched, so Santa's socks and then his beard and his hat. Look at the little pom-pom, or not his hat, the pom-pom on his hat. This is such a fun stitch. It goes on and off to really give you that fun dimension. I love that. If any of you did our Snow Buddies block of the month several years ago, we did this stitch a lot on the embroidery machine with the fun snowmen everywhere. So it's one of my favorites. I think that's a fun little accent there. So now we are going to move to step 17. We're gonna change our thread to the 1095 turquoise. So the machine will of course stitch your 3 turquoise items, and it's gonna stitch across the top of your snow to really make that pop. I do wanna point out for all the steps from now on, I'm gonna take my hoop on and off so that we can talk about what our thread colors are changing to and what is stitching, and then show you how it looks stitched so you know what to expect on your end. However, you won't need to be taking your hoop on and off the arm of your machine anymore. So now let's put this 1095 turquoise on and keep going. All right, take a look at your turquoise stitching. Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it when it pops. I really love the turquoise on the snow. Boop, looks so good. So now we're going to load the 1130, the dark brown, and very quickly the machine will stitch the stem of your, or the tree trunk, not the stem, the tree trunk of your Christmas tree. Alrighty, so now the tree trunk is stitched. It's time to change to the dark green in your thread kit, the 1176 medium dark avocado. And the machine is going to stitch, of course, the green parts of your tree and both of Santa's hands. Alrighty, take a look. Our green is stitched, and I do want to point out that yes, you do have an area not stitched on your right hand of Santa and on the left side of your tree, and that's because this is gonna go in your seam allowance, so it doesn't need to be stitched. Now on the brown down here, I did have it do the buttonhole stitch just simply so I wouldn't have to like stop the sewing. So now we are going to load our 1256 sweet pink, and the machine is going to stitch our 1 pink ornament on Santa's tree. Alrighty, so now the pink ornament is stitched. Now it's time to stitch the orange one. So you're gonna load the 1833 pumpkin pie, and the machine will stitch the part that will show of your orange ornament. Okay, so your orange is now stitched, and it is time to load our butterfly gold, one of my favorite colors, and the yellow will stitch here. The yellow is not gonna stitch here because that is a piece that's underneath another piece. So when this stitches, it's gonna be part of the black stitching. Alrighty, so the yellow is stitched here. Now we're going to load our 1039 true red, and the machine will stitch your ornament, and then of course all of Santa's red outfit and hat. Alrighty, so all the red is stitched, and we are now almost done. It's time to load the black so that Santa can have his eyes and mouth, and then of course his boots will be stitched. Alrighty, your Santa has come to life, so let's take a look up close from top to bottom. Looking so good. So now you're ready to take him out of the hoop and trim him. You'll remove all of your stabilizer, of course, first. And then you'll use your placement guide that came in your pattern as a guide to trim. So you have this very top line marked and your very bottom line marked for you. And then you'll use your ruler to make sure that you measure the full 8 inches out on either side. And you'll use this as your guide. So your outer line is your trim line. And yes, your applique does come all the way up to the edge with your tree on the left and the top, the bottom, the snow is feet. And then the hand doesn't quite come to the edge, and your star goes out a little bit, but you will get these pieces caught in your seam allowance nonetheless. So I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Next month, we'll be working on block 9. And if you're not a member of this club, please join. It is so much fun to stitch every month using your embroidery machine or your sewing machine. Happy stitching!